what is up, dudes and dudettes? This is Due-Diligence here, and traveling, so we don't have, well, let's just say we don't have my video camera on or with me. So let's do a weekly recap on this week's market in terms of, what we did right, what we did wrong, or what are some expectations moving towards next week. And according to popular request from Discord and from everywhere else, we believe that everybody want a PBT video because people started panicking. So I will make that over the weekend and probably post it around Sunday morning or Saturday night. So right now we are looking at the NASDAQ index, and as you know, we ended down on a down note, right? We, technically speaking, what we really did here is we started out a Monday pretty nicely, and then by the end of Friday night, we have a negative return on a weekly basis. And for those of you who watched my video beforehand, you know that on a weekly basis, everything is essentially a coin toss, right? So this is the weekly mean, the weekly distribution of NASDAQ's return on a weekly basis. And you can actually access all of this on Discord. I don't remember where did I put it. If you have the ability to sort of look at all these code, or I can just convert all of these pictures into like little things and I will just post it somewhere. And I plan on making all of these charts simulations available for Patreon members. But as you know, for the past month, I'm being super busy. What I will do is probably on Patreon first, I would offer to basically cut out all of these charts and then make little summaries and then make a text file that all of my Patreon members can access, and later on, everybody on Discord can access those simplified probability distribution. So what this means is most of the times you will end up on a weekly, you are on a slightly positive weekly return, which equals to about 0.3%. And most likely, every week, your weekly return will probably be coin toss, right? So at this point, it's actually really, really normal for a NASDAQ weekly end up on a downside note that's less than 2%. So let's look at how much percent. On here, we actually, on a weekly basis, let's just do it right now because this is what you guys want to see. 1379 minus 13548 equals to, so basically it dropped 241 points. We don't calculate on a Tuesday basis, we always calculate on a Monday basis because this is how we collect our data on a big data analysis sort of basis. Okay, 1379. So literally we dropped by about 1.7%. Okay, it's within the 2% range, means this is actually really normal. And during a time where the entire market is really volatile, you will see that you have an upward cap. Technically, the upward cap is actually over here. And then if you're more positive, it's over here. So I can just draw those two lines for you guys. I don't really need those two lines because nowadays I operate on a sort of like a negative, sort of like a balanced zero gamma basis when I hedge my people's portfolios. And then I don't really worry about those lines. In this case, today I was betting on a rebound because yesterday we have an abnormal downside. But I mean, consider there's gonna be war in Ukraine, and Vladimir, my boy Vladimir, is being a little bit sneaky. So it's warranted these downside. And then today we have an oil sort of like a negative sort of recapture on the oil market. I can show you guys. Let's just use this as an example. So what we talk about negative recapture is we started off as lower than the 15 moving average and 150, the 5 moving average and the 15 moving average. And then what we have is today we have US investors going into futures, and then it just bumps up a little bit. And again, we always buy weekly oil longs until we know that for sure that there's going to be a negative catalyst. Therefore, anything oil that you're in today is most likely to have a very stagnant effect. In the morning it will drop by a lot, and then in the afternoon it will probably rebalance around 0.5% or 0.12%, 0.23%. I haven't even checked any of those, so I will just give you guys, see, well, actually dropped by 0.73%, But in general, it's probably gonna be like within 1% range, like on oil, because we played a recapture, a 0.89% recapture, and then we have a 0.49 on the aftermarket. And then when future closes, it probably will closes at 1% upwards. And then on Sunday night when it opens up, you will see that it will get dragged down a little bit more if there's no positive news coming out. But if my boy Vladimir Putin has decided to go on full on crazy on Ukraine, then you will see a positive bump over. Okay, so if you are really trading on oil here, you're betting for an unrest in the Russian area, and you probably will also bet on the oil supply on the US does not really balance out with the demand, and you are really betting on the demand on oil keep increasing, and then US government or whatever decided to increase rigging or increase drilling or increase the possibility of discover or extract more oil on the US homeland because of self-reliance issues and all this kind of stuff. And essentially you're betting on EV transition not to be very smooth, which in reality is actually not really smooth. And you can see this if you believe in technical analysis, all of these indicating that we're still on an upward wind right now. This is a volatile Eden down. Okay. And you can see the complementaries are doing really well. Aftermarket, we have Bohr, UNG, and all that kind of stuff. Okay. And in terms of the entire market, if you really want to have a forecast, and again, this line was drawn like 2 or 3 days ago. You can see it from my other videos. Nasdaq was doing range. It's not surprising. It's just that our expectation is it probably will, our expectation is it probably will end up on a positive note. So all of our like short-term hedging plays on TQQQ will probably come to fruition, and we can capitalize on that. But if it actually draw down to our price line there, how we manage our portfolio is our maximum downside is actually 2%. So it's actually within our range here. And if you go look at our previous video, you will know that this entire price range we already laid out for you guys. The green one, green one was set up on one day, like on the same day. So it's captured within range. There's nothing surprising there for us to really talk about, really. And then for you guys who are looking forward to a Monday return, there's not going to be a Monday trading day. So next week's option expiration, the data will be tighter. Therefore, next week's trading range will be a little bit more volatile. And what we're really expecting is we were expecting it to recapture the blue line. But there might be a possibility where we have some political tension going on, and in terms of how politics goes in the United States, there might be some interesting things going on with interest rate, with the fiscal policy and all the kind of stuff. We might see a bigger downturn, as I indicated from my last video, where it might go down to 13,000, and from that line we will have a soft rebound. And then everything after that will just be another consideration for interest rate, because next week, if you look at the calendar, next week is literally the last expiration walking into March, and March is danger zone because we all know that in March, most likely interest rates can hike. Okay, it's either 0.25% or 0.5%, really depending on a luck or depending on what Powell is really feeling. I'm thinking they're really looking for a 0.25% to ease into it, but depending on how bad inflation report or inflation expectation coming in on March 1st, we're probably looking at a 0.5% increase. Let's just be honest, like the inflation is not really going anywhere. It's exacerbating. So our expectation is that the entire Nasdaq exchange will probably hammer down to 13,000. But really depending on how you're playing your portfolio, I have a more positive outlook on where Nasdaq is gonna go, because a lot of the anchoring position on Nasdaq, including Tesla and Apple, didn't really move as much. It's still within expectation. Therefore, my hedging flow and my expectation is I would probably, the way how I hedge it is I still favor on the positive side instead of the short side. But when a tailwind actually started to come in, I probably will favor more on the downside than the long side. Consider my personality, I do like to short things when value does not really equate price. So this is it for this video. Hopefully it's helpful, so then you guys won't panic. This is within expectation, or there's nothing really surprising going on the NASDAQ today. This is all expected, just that maybe we're expecting a positive return from Thursday instead of a negative 1% overall on a weekly basis. All right, see you guys on the upside. Hopefully this is useful, and if you like this video, smash the like button and subscribe.